Game on! Here's Johnny.
You're gonna need a bigger boat.
So serious.
Roll out.
I am Iron Man.
This is a tasty burger.
Welcome to the In Session Film Podcast.
Welcome to episode 692 for June 15th, 2026, and I'm JD Duran.
And I'm Megan Kearns.
Hey, thanks for joining us, everybody. Boy, this show is going to be a doozy. I don't even know where to begin. We have so much to talk about. We are, of course, going to be reviewing Steven Spielberg's latest film, Disclosure Day. That's coming tomorrow as this episode drops. However, we do have some Spielberg to talk about because apparently that's all Twitter wanted to do over the weekend. I was telling Megan right before we started recording here, I had to actively search for the Stanley Cup final, or I was searching up World Cup tweets because there's been a lot of fun activity happening around that as well, just to get my algorithm out of the mess that was Steven Spielberg, because that's all everyone debated for half a week. Mm-hmm. It was unreal. We are, of course, going to talk about that. However, before we get into that, I do want to note here up front, we are going to be doing a really fun top 5. In fact, this is a top 5 that we've actually done before on the show. I wish that I wrote down the episode number. I did look it up on the website. Maybe I have it up here real fast. I'm not sure if I do. But I do know it is one we did on the show. But funny enough, it was an episode where I was gone. Oh. And I want to say this was 2015. It was around 2015 because it was when Matt Neglia was on the show. Or 2016. It was June 28th, 2016. So almost 10 years to the day. About 2 weeks away from the 10-year anniversary of
That's wild.
That episode 175. We talked about our top 5 alien invasion movies. And that was, I believe, inspired by the release of Independence Day Resurgence. If you remember that disaster. Oh my God. So we're going to revisit that topic because, one, it's been 10 years. And as I noted, I was not on that episode. So I actually have not participated in said top 5 alien invasion movies. I'm very excited to dig into it. Megan, of course, was not here 10 years ago either. So it felt appropriate to utilize this top 5 once again. Alien invasion movies, something Spielberg certainly knows all too well. So I'm excited to dig into that top 5. That'll be in the back half of the episode. I also want to note here up front, with a little bit of joy and optimism before we delve into the darkened hell waters of Spielberg Discourse. This weekend, we will see the release of Toy Story 5, which is very exciting. Mm-hmm. And we have decided that my youngest, Andrew, who is now 3, we are going to be taking him to the theater for the very first time to see Toy Story 5. And I cannot wait. I am giddy with joy. My wife, it was funny. She's like, why don't we go on Sunday for Father's Day? And I kind of laughed at her and I was like, no, absolutely not. I will not make it to Sunday. There's no way. There's no way I could wait until Sunday. So we'll probably take him Friday, maybe Saturday if we have to. But we are going to be taking him this weekend. I cannot wait. I'm sure there will be plenty of hashtag JD Tears Abound for it. But yeah, I'm very excited to share in Toy Story. He's been watching the original trilogy, and ironically, he's been watching it on his iPad. So
that's very fitting.
That's an incredible irony for sure. Mm-hmm. I will note, though, he's actually really good about not being addicted to the iPad. We use it when it's necessary He does like to watch his videos and most recently Toy Story on there, but he's mostly an active player. He wants to go outside and play or play with his toys in the house all evening tonight leading up to this recording. All he wanted to do for 2 hours was shoot Nerf guns. And that's what we did. We shot Nerf guns all around the house. We probably lost a dozen darts or so in the process. And that's all we did. He just running around with his Nerf guns. So he's very good about not being on the iPad a lot. But ironically, he has been watching Toy Story on the iPad. So there's that.
That's
Should be fun.
amazing.
Looking forward to it. All right, Megan, I've delayed us long enough. We must get into this. We
Let's
must
descend.
descend into the hellscape that is Spielberg Discourse. So it's, of course, ironic, right? Because the movie is all about logic and empathy. We're going to talk about this in the review, but there's something about the film in a post-COVID world. And I saw a lot of people doing the parallel of something like Disclosure Day to War of the Worlds, which is, of course, this post 9/11 allegory. Disclosure Day is very much in that same vein, but with COVID and living in a post-COVID world where communication and logic and empathy, these are things that have been lost. These are the things that Spielberg is trying to examine in the film. Now, we can debate and argue all day long as it relates to its execution. Is it effective in all of that? There's nuance there. We can certainly talk about it. But it is objectively very funny, or perhaps that is the wrong word. Maybe the appropriate word is nightmare. It is a nightmare how people have taken what that film is about and flipped it on its head as if they didn't see the movie, whether you like it or not. And all we saw over the weekend was people with their pitchforks out, their bows and arrows, aiming their sights at the opposition. If you loved the movie, people were tearing down those that didn't understand it or that didn't like it. And vice versa. If you loved the movie, holy Lord, people went out of their way to make sure they told you that you are a goddamn loser for liking that movie. And I should know because I tweeted quite a bit about how much I liked the movie. And I've never in my entire time on Twitter gotten more hate comments than I did over the last 6 or 7 days.
Wow.
It was unbelievable. And most of the people in my comments chirping at me, they don't even follow me.
No,
They
of
don't
course
follow
not.
me. They don't know me. They're actively on Twitter searching, finding tweets that are positive only to get into their mentions to tear them down. And this is a movie about empathy. And I don't know how to respond to it, Megan, other than to maybe laugh at the idea that Spielberg is like, maybe we should be able to communicate more. Maybe we should show each other more empathy. And the response to that from so many people was, fuck you. What? What are we doing here? I don't get it.
I don't know. Maybe I'm very jaded and very cynical when it comes to social media discourse, because that does not surprise me at all. At all.
Yeah.
It seems par for the course.
It's extremely par for the course. Yeah.
Sadly.
Yeah, it's extremely infuriating. I maybe should have expected this, perhaps could have seen this coming, because this type of behavior certainly it's existed even before COVID for sure. But since the pandemic, it seems as if it's been heightened more, and we've now found ourselves in these myopic fandoms
Yes.
that have no nuance whatsoever. And that creates this vacuum where people are living their lives assuming that much of this discourse is actual human beings. And I don't know if that's true, to be perfectly honest. Half of this could be artificial intelligence and bots creating so much of this nonsense discourse. But taking it at face value, and that at least a significant chunk of it are real human beings, that vacuum has created this environment where people live with these blinders on. And as a result, there's just simply no nuance. And the thing about Disclosure Day is I think there's plenty of nuance to be had with the film. Not to put the cart before the horse, I guess, but I guess as a little bit of a preview for our review, while I did like the movie quite a bit. In fact, when I updated my Spielberg rankings on Letterboxd, I think I put this at something like number 9 as far as my Spielberg movies are concerned. But I don't think it's a perfect movie. In fact, I'm closer to how I described something like Sinners last year, where the first thing out of my mouth was, that is a messy masterpiece. I think Sinners is a masterpiece.
I think it's just a straight masterpiece, but I hear you.
Which is fair. I don't think that film is perfect. I think there are flaws to it, but it's still a masterpiece. And while I wouldn't go quite that far with Disclosure Day, I'm kind of in that same camp, though, of I think it's a really great film, but it is far from perfect. There are absolutely blemishes to the movie. There's a whole sequence in the middle of that movie where it just turns into a video game. Where with Josh O'Connor's character roaming around in a way that is completely illogical. It really does take video game logic for you to, I guess, fall into the rhythms of the scene. So I can understand why people are like, I don't know if this works. And even in the theater, I thought the same thing. But those things for me just don't accumulate to anything given the strengths of the movie and how great I think they are. But I'm willing to concede that there are elements about the movie that certainly you have to take leaps with, or that just straight don't work. And that's fair. I think there's a conversation to be had there, for sure. In another world, or perhaps in another context, perhaps if Disclosure Day came out 10 years ago, for example, I might be more in that mixed camp of really good movie, flawed movie, but something I can really enjoy. And I do think there are quite a few Spielberg movies that fall under that definition. But I don't know, there's something about how I've specifically matured over the last 10 years, coupled with the context in which we live now, and where our society simply is, where it's evolved to, and how I feel about empathy and logic in relation to what Spielberg is doing. I very much fell for its spells. It's very akin to what the greatest filmmakers tend to do in terms of feeling strong about a certain topic, having conviction with some sort of thematic idea, and then funneling it through the mechanism of diverting entertainment. Because that movie is not about aliens, obviously. That movie is not about aliens or disclosing governmental conspiracies about aliens. All of that is a mechanism for these other ideas that Spielberg clearly wants to convey. And oh boy, am I excited to dive into what Disclosure Day has to say about religion specifically, because that knocked me on the floor. Absolutely slayed me. I'm very excited to dig into that as well. Where's that conversation been? I mean, you clearly find it in individual tweets. It is there.
Mm-hmm.
What I'm referring to is the conversation.
Yes.
People that love the film might bring up. I saw plenty of tweets of people bringing up these different ideas and what they loved about them. Or on the flip side of that, people bringing up what Spielberg is trying to convey and not loving the execution of it. Those individual pockets obviously exist, but you go into the mentions of all of those tweets and it's just middle finger, middle finger, middle finger. That's all that it is. No attempt at a good faith conversation.
No, because that's not what a lot of people want. They don't want to have a conversation.
They don't.
They want to tell you that you're stupid and you're wrong and you're horrible, because I think that it's a multitude of issues converging. I think a big part of it, a huge part of it, is the lack of media literacy. People don't know what they're watching. They don't know, unfortunately, a lot of times how to watch something. They need their handheld, which is infuriating because I feel like simultaneously, I don't believe audiences are stupid. I don't think media should talk down to audiences. At the same time, far too often it feels like people need their handheld, and it's where if something is not text, if something is subtext, forget it. It's lost. It's gone. And so I think that's a huge part of it. I think the lack of empathy, which I very much agree with you that obviously that is a huge part of this film. And unfortunately, we are seeing an erosion of empathy and have been for quite some time. I think that is a huge part societally, socially, politically. So I think that's all intertwined. And there's also a big part of it. You mentioned fandoms, and I think you're absolutely right about that. And sadly, too many people equate their identity with those fandoms. So if you love something and somebody says, oh, I didn't like this, or this didn't work for me, or even I hate it, who cares? Why is that a reflection on you? It's not. It's not a reflection on you as a person if you liked it and someone else didn't, or vice versa. If you didn't like it and someone else did. But people want to go to war over these ridiculous hyperbolic statements, and it's just it's absurd. So when you make a claim like, oh wow, I really loved this movie, here's what worked for me, it really moved me, so on and so forth, certain people are just losing their minds. And it's funny because I have seen a lot of the same reactions that you have, as far as people loving it, people really disliking it, falling somewhere in between. But there is a guy that I saw his video on TikTok, and he was talking about, he asked the question, is this the most divisive blockbuster of all time? He's like, the responses from people are kind of out of control and very polarizing and very extreme. And so I don't know that it's the most divisive or polarizing blockbuster of all time, but it really has brought out a very divisive reaction from a lot of people.
I mean, it's up there. It's certainly up there. I don't know if it's the most polarizing, but it's got to be top 5. I would imagine it's got to be top 5. And I do think a lot of it comes down to what you're saying in terms of media literacy, how challenging that has become. And that is also a bit twofold and maybe has its own irony, because part of the criticism around Disclosure Day is that it's not subtle.
No,
it's not subtle.
It's not subtle.
It is hand-holding to some degree. I think part of where the film might struggle the most is that Spielberg is trying to ride that line of ambition and ambiguity, and also holding your hand through a lot of it to make sure that you can keep up. He's trying to do both. Now, is he able to have its cake and eat it too? That's going to be up for debate forever. I think that he mostly is able to get there, but I can understand why others very much might not feel that way. And that's totally understandable because the film is not subtle. Perhaps ambitious to a fault, certainly has moments of ambiguity in that final act for sure, but it is hand-holding. There's no doubt about it. So the fact that there's been so many questions regarding what is this scene doing? What does he mean by this? Why is he showing us this image when it's very clearly, like it's clearly explained why those things are there, and yet still a lot of people aren't understanding. That's part of it. The other issue that I have, and this circles back to the side of the spectrum that I tend to fall on with Disclosure Day, people that are fans of it, I think are being, again, the word of this. If we were phrasing the titles of our podcast, Megan, off of the discussion and not what our gimmicky segment is, I think it would just be titled Irony. The title of this episode is just called Irony, I think. Because the irony of it is that, yes, people have been struggling with media literacy and understanding simple concepts that Spielberg throws into the film, and yet the response isn't empathy. Mm-hmm. The response is, you dumb fuck. How do you not understand what's going on here? And it's like, okay, yes, we can maybe urge them to interpret these scenes more logically, but can we do it with a little bit more empathy? Because that's ultimately what he's trying to convey. Can we communicate and empathize with each other?
No.
And our echo
crazy.
chambers have absolutely crippled our ability to do those things. So even if you do like the movie, now I have not done this because it's certainly not my personality, but I have seen a lot of fans of the film just really go after these people for not understanding instead of showing them empathy, instead of teaching them and educating them on how to interpret film and art. They're just double downing. And it just makes it worse because now those people are just going to respond with more bitterness. And it's just going to create this cycle of whatever it's turned into. And so I think part of it is, yes, some people, like, we have to do something about the literacy part of it. And I think, at least in part, the response has to be, okay, let's meet them where they are and help them. Ultimately, I think that's what Spielberg wants to say. And instead, it's just turned back into one middle finger after another. And it's, and so I'm sitting here dumbfounded, Megan. I'm dumbfounded. Mm-hmm. Like, and look, I'm not saying that I'm perfect in that either. I do not comment negatively, especially on other people's opinions. I will engage someone in a back and forth for sure, but I'm not going to go out there and actively come after you and attack you. But the people that have come after me in my mentions, did I show them empathy? Maybe not. I could have responded with love and compassion, but instead, maybe I also came at them a little sarcastically. I'm not saying that I'm a saint in any of this either. But yeah, I mean, if they don't understand something, the only way for society to raise the bar is for those people to get educated. And where are they going to learn that? They're not going to film school. So that at a certain point, and maybe it's just on them. I don't know. Maybe it's not even our responsibility. Maybe that is the rebuttal there. I don't know. But again, it's the irony of what the film is trying to convey and the response being completely antithetical.
Yeah. I mean, I don't think it is your responsibility or necessarily anyone's responsibility to educate anyone, because it is exhausting and taxing and it drains you and it takes a toll. So if the way I look at it is, if you have the energy and the desire to educate someone, go for it. But that shouldn't be necessarily your responsibility to do.
That's fair.
I think the other thing is too, is it's funny, and you're absolutely right about most people are not going to film school. And it reminded me that I think everybody should have media literacy from like first grade. Like, I think it should be something that is taught in schools at a very early age. However, our education system is also collapsing along with everything else. So, and getting eroded, as well as the arts. You know, arts education is getting gutted, and if it hasn't been already. So I think we need more education. I think we need media literacy added. And I do think a big part of it is people need to educate themselves. However, they're not going to do that because a lot of people, they don't know what they don't know. So I think a big part of it is too, is that if someone comes to you in kind of a way where they're genuinely curious, I think that's very, very different than someone who is very closed off, very closed-minded, and is just attacking you. Because if they're just attacking you, like, there's no point. There's no point really in engaging them unless you want to be, you know, snarky and rude back to them. But there's no point in, you're not going to turn the conversation. You're not going to really impart any wisdom on them. And I think that's just, it's really unfortunate, because I think it does, you know, it's kind of funny, but it also leads into this larger conversation about empathy and how vital it is and the lack of it, and how it's just, it's really tragic. Like, I know we're just talking about a movie, and at the end of the day, who cares? It's a movie. But at the same time, when people talk about like, oh, it's not that deep. No, it is. It really is that deep. Everything is that deep. Media is that deep. Art is that deep.
Yeah.
Everything is that deep. And so it really is unfortunate, and we need more empathy. And so we need more education, and we need more empathy, and we need more nuance in conversations.
Well, and I do think it's important because art is the quintessential vehicle that allows us to see the world through different perspectives.
Yes.
And
yes.
articulate our feelings about our place in the universe, our purpose here. It's able to convey these things in ways that words often fail. And that is crucial. That's why poetry, art, throughout history, it's always been preserved. And it's always been crucial to pretty much every civilization, because they understood that notion.
Mm-hmm.
So it is important. And I do think having some sort of media literacy training, however that looks, whatever that looks like, I do think we need to find our way there. And I do agree with the general idea that maybe it isn't our responsibility to educate those that are struggling with it. But like Spielberg is arguing, I do think, at least there's the argument that you could, and of course I mean the royal you here, respond in a way that is more empathetic.
Yes.
We don't have to respond with more cynicism and hatred. And there is a way to find that middle ground. Now, you are right, though, Megan, in the sense that they have to be willing to engage in that conversation from a place of good faith, and that is almost non-existent. Non-existent. I forget who tweeted it out over the weekend, but one of the sentiments that registered the most with me is that Spielberg's biggest sin with Disclosure Day is that he made a movie about faith predicated on this idea that empathy is real and that it's good. But in the context of 2026, that clearly is not something that we all share. That's not a belief that we share.
No, it's not a given, sadly.
And it's not a given. And if anything, you could certainly make the argument that it's the exact opposite of that. We've never been more divisive. We've never hated each other more, which I don't think that's entirely true. But certainly, let's say since the 90s, that's probably true. We've never hated each other more. And people seem to relish in that. They seem to revel in it. So the idea that empathy is this thing that we're longing for, I don't think that our society is. Now, that to me makes the message more powerful, because I do think that empathy is good. I don't know if it's real. I want it to be real, just like I want aliens to be real, but they're not. So maybe aliens and empathy are a great duo. Maybe it is a great combination after all, because I want both of those things to be real, but I don't know if they are. I do think, though, that it is a great foundation. And that's why I absolutely want to delve into its notions on religion, because I think that plays a pivotal role as well. And also, to the title of the episode, adds a bit of irony, because where empathy should be the strongest, you would think, is in religious circles. But from my experience, that tends to be not true. Not true. Now, I don't know, like, that's not a specific dichotomy that the film is wrestling with, but it is dabbling with it in ways that I find absolutely provocative and fascinating, especially with how Spielberg tethers it to alien lore and mythical figures. It's really, really interesting. But yeah, I mean, I do think, to the sentiment of the tweet, to the nucleus of it, it is a bit of a miscalculation. We just don't share that belief that empathy is a good thing. A lot of people would argue, or maybe not argue, a lot of people just don't. They don't live with empathy as part of their lives.
No.
So, but again, that makes the messaging more powerful for me, because I do think if we did show each other more empathy, if we did show each other more grace, if we did communicate with more nuance and understanding, we would live in a better world. I absolutely do believe that. And clearly Spielberg does as well. But it's very, very clear that we do not live in that society, given the response to the film, and half of the country going, screw you, Spielberg. Screw you and your ideas of empathy and goodness. How dare you? Obviously, I'm being sarcastic, but and that's not a dig at those that don't like the movie. I think it's perfectly fair if you don't like the movie. Again, it's not perfect. That's mostly a dig at those that only want to treat it from this bad faith place of negativity and hatred, and that's how they live their lives. And I can't relate to that personally. But clearly, half this country, that's how they live their lives. So.
See, and here I thought we were going to be talking about how people were outraged that Spielberg ruined cinema, and instead we're talking about how people are severely lacking empathy. Yeah.
Well, yeah. I mean, Because I do think that's been a big part of the conversation for sure. But that is a great transition to the next phase of this for sure. A lot of people talking about how Spielberg has ruined movies. Okay, I'm just going to put my cards on the table. I do not agree with that sentiment at all. And it mostly comes down to this. I think that sentiment severely underestimates the power of greed from film executives. Because they would have gotten there eventually.
I've seen that argument too. Yeah.
Spielberg's biggest mistake is his genius got them there faster. That's it. And again, it's nothing short of a miracle. And we all know the story of Jaws. That film was an utter disaster in terms of its production. The fact that a masterpiece was born out of it, truly
it's shocking.
Yes. It's prophetic to the genius of Spielberg. And it did lead him to eventually making more big movies that defined the blockbuster. But it would have gotten there eventually because film executives are greedy. I was going to cuss again, but I've already done enough editing here to edit myself out here. But they're among the greediest people on the planet, in North America for sure. We know that. They would have eventually figured out, you know what? These big movies, they do make money. Maybe we should do more of them. In fact, maybe we should do sequels. Why don't we do that? Like, they would have eventually gotten there. Spielberg just got them there faster. So it's hard for me to fully blame him. And also, when it comes to that type of movie, who's done it better than Spielberg? At least when he makes a movie, there's still incredible craft to it. That's why, again, going back to the Disclosure Day nuance of it all, you don't have to love everything about the subtlety or the lack thereof, the messaging. Some of the sequences could be kind of messy. That film is still made with tremendous craft. The blocking and the cinematography. Megan, there were moments where the camera would move and you get those classic blocking shots from Spielberg, and I was sitting there with the stupidest grin on my face. I was a child, once again, just watching Spielberg do his thing. It was unbelievable. The score, John Williams, the GOAT, as always, love that as well. The sound design, I think, is really incredible. There's been a lot of talk about Emily Blunt making those noises and the sound engineer enhancing it so that they didn't have to rely on AI to do anything of that sort. Like, there's still real incredible craft with the movie. And nobody does it like Spielberg in that regard. And so, I mean, even when he's making these big movies, there's still this immense amount of craft that I think is noteworthy. So nobody really does it like him in that regard. That the sentiment that people are making as it relates to Spielberg ruining movies, I think that simply comes down to executives not knowing what to do with the blockbuster and making horrible decision after horrible decision for decades. That's where the problem lies, I think.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know if one person has ruined cinema, and even if one person did, I don't think it's Steven Spielberg. I would agree with you. I think it's the studio system. I think it is the greed. I think it is the lack of funding for diverse filmmakers. And I do mean diverse in the sense of inclusivity with regards to gender, sexual orientation, race, disability, so on and so forth. But I also mean diversity in the sense of new ideas, not just relying on franchises and existing IP. So, or adaptations, even though you can get really great movies from adapted material. But yeah, so I think that's a big part of it too, but I don't think Steven Spielberg has ruined cinema. I don't think he ruined it with, the summer blockbusters, and I don't think he's ruining it now. So
No.
if anything, I think summer blockbusters are a great addition to other movies. I think that it's great to have an event movie to go to see in the theater. And I think that Steven Spielberg is very, very deft at doing that, doing a larger than life film.
Yeah. I might get some pushback for this, but
Ooh, uh-oh.
I think if we lived in a world where the blockbuster was a Steven Spielberg movie, if every single one of them was shot and composed and directed like Steven Spielberg, I don't think anyone would be complaining. I don't think anyone would be complaining. The problem is that most executives greenlighting these movies and hiring directors and writers to make these movies, they're not Steven Spielberg. And so a lot of them tend to be really bad. And today they're made more cheaply. And I mean cheaply in terms of quality, because obviously they're spending a lot of money on these movies, a lot of them upwards of $200-300 million. But the quality just isn't there because they're cutting corners and it's all made with CGI slop and nothing feels real and tangible. But you watch a Spielberg movie and they feel real and tangible. And there's...
I don't agree with that, but...
Okay.
I don't think they all feel real and tangible, but we'll get into that, I think, when we discuss Disclosure Day.
No, I mean, go for it. I mean, I'm here to have that conversation.
Okay. I think the animals, the CGI animals in Disclosure Day do not look real in any way, shape, or form. And I'm not mad about it, but I think they look very, very much unreal. I think they stand out very much. So, and I think there's certain shots in the film that do not look real. So, yeah, I think also, like, I can't help but think of, like, Kingdom of the Crystal Skull, which also I think doesn't look very real. But anyway, I think for the most part, you're right. I think there are some exceptions to that rule.
Yeah, I mean, that's totally fair. I do have a pushback regarding the animals in Disclosure Day.
Ooh,
I don't think that was an accident, actually.
No,
I
don't
that was
either.
Very purposeful.
I agree with you.
Yeah, so we can talk about that, and so it's not as if the CGI in every like the BFG is one of the worst movies I've seen in the in-session film era.
I haven't seen it, so I cannot say.
Not good. Not good. And I don't think that, the CGI in something like Ready Player One is
I hate
the
that
most. Yeah, it's not the greatest example.
Mm-mm.
But what I mean is, for the most part, there is a tangibility to his films that a lot of blockbusters, like even in something like Crystal Skull, for example, there's still a lot of physical sets there. He's still using real props and moving the camera outside of the jungle sequence, which we'll forget exists. And it still feels like a movie. And it feels like it has this huge spectacle that I just feel like a lot of blockbusters are missing. Mm-hmm. But I also feel like Crystal Skull is trying to bridge that gap between old school Spielberg and this new 2000 Spielberg and where technology was going at that time. Ultimately, I think that's why it's one of his worst films as well. Mm-hmm. Because I don't think he's able to manage that blend all that well. But the same guy that cares about camera movement and blocking still exists in that
of
film.
Course. Yeah.
And that's what I mean, is that even when he's incorporating CGI, sometimes messy CGI, there's still a diverting quality to them because nobody cares about the image more than he does. And I guess that's ultimately all that I'm saying, is that a lot of blockbusters, they're made and no one gives a shit. They're just making them. Like when you watch, nobody watches Gods of Egypt and goes, you know what? The camera movement here is just incredible.
I did not watch that movie, so I cannot say.
Yeah. I mean, nobody said that, I promise you. Nobody was saying it. Nobody watched Pompeii and was like, oh my gosh.
Another movie I've avoided.
The cinematography blew my mind. No, nobody says that. But I do feel like even when Spielberg is at his worst, that's just who he is. He's still thinking about the frame.
Yes, he cares where the camera is and how it's moving.
He cares about, and that I think goes a long way because it's a visual medium.
Yeah, absolutely.
And so that's ultimately the point that I'm trying to make, even if it took me a minute to get there. That's all that I'm trying to say. And so, yeah, I think that level of craftsmanship, maybe that's the best phrase there, that if every blockbuster was made with that intentionality, I think we'd be living in a very different world. The problem is a lot of blockbusters are not made that way. Now, in recent years, again, there are certainly exceptions to the rule. We talked about this last week, I believe, when you think of, what J.J. Abrams and Rian Johnson did with Star Wars, for example, or what Denis doing with the Dune movies, Christopher Nolan, obviously, with a lot of his films. There are big movies being made with that Spielberg mentality, for sure. But a lot of them aren't. And it just, I'm not putting that on Spielberg. To me, that comes back to executives wanting to make things cheaply and hiring people that are unqualified. And I ultimately, I think that's been a lot of Marvel's biggest problem.
Oh, for sure. Again,
with a few exemptions, like Chloe Zhao's movie, I think is really good. But generally, it's that kind of Marvel sheen. And they don't, they hire directors they can pay cheaply for the most part. And so the Russos came along, I guess, and kind of bucked that trend. But for the most part, that's been their formula. And that's just one example, obviously, but it's hard for me to put that on Spielberg. That's executives trying to cut corners.
No, and I do think the kind of Marvelization of films it's indicative of the larger problem. It showcases the bigger problem, and I don't think that's on Spielberg per se.
Yeah, and to your point earlier, it's like a studio system thing because even with Marvel, and honestly, the more I think about it, the more examples I think we'll be able to find. But like that first Iron Man, for example, I would put that more in the camp of what we mentioned earlier with the exceptions to the rule. Because that first Iron Man, I do think was made with real craft and intentionality because they didn't know that it was going to turn into this thing. They had to make something good if they wanted it to be this larger universe.
Right.
Obviously, that was the goal. That's what they were aiming for. But Iron Man had to be good. And they did make a really good movie. You could still argue that's one of the best MCU films, even to this date. It's very, very good.
It's a solid film.
The cutting of the corners comes much later when the budgets get bigger and things get more expansive, and the cast are getting bigger, and we have to pay them more. And so now they're cutting corners in all these ways, and it's and the MCU as a larger spectacle, like that's where you started to see diminishing returns. And that's been the case with a lot of franchises. The longer you go, the more diminishing returns you tend to see. Because we got to cut corners somewhere, Megan.
Indeed
so,
we do,
at any rate.
I guess.
Anyway,
got to make those
like
profits.
that's a lot of words to say. I don't blame Spielberg. Like that's not a Spielberg problem. That's a studio system problem. That's an executive's problem. That I don't think Spielberg has his hands in. Now, maybe you can make an argument of, but JD, he was the executive producer on Transformers. Okay. I mean, he has executive produced a lot of bad movies. He has. I don't know if he's the one greenlighting them. He's obviously not directing them. So, like, I don't know. But Scorsese's done the same thing. Like, how many bad movies has he executive produced? Like, they all have those movies under when they're executive producing. And a lot of the times they just slap their names on them for marketing purposes. Spielberg was a part of this. Okay. I don't think no one looks at Transformers and goes, you know what? That's got Spielberg written all over it. Other than the fact that you could technically call it an alien movie. And we know he loves his aliens.
Sure does. That he does.
At any rate. And do you have any other thoughts on that before we move on?
No, just that I don't think it's all his fault. I think there are a lot of problems with the film industry. I don't think it's all his fault. I don't think it's all any one person's fault. I think it's a culmination of things.
I mean, just like anything else on this episode, there's nuance to it all, but no one wants to talk about nuance. Because nuance doesn't get you likes and retweets.
No, nuance does not get you attention.
Yes. At any rate, more empathy.
Yes, always.
And it's more nuance, I guess, is what I'm trying to say there. Before we get to the top 5, there's one other thing we want to talk about real fast. I still have not seen this movie. So I don't know what to think of the film. I am very excited to dig into this because I've seen a lot of people hate the movie and I've seen a lot of people really love the film. I am speaking of the horror film Obsession, just the most apt title of maybe any movie this year. People are very obsessed with Obsession. Yes. And that's another discourse that's been all over the place. But thankfully for me, because I haven't seen it, I don't know how to respond to any of it. It goes through my feed and I scroll right on by.
And you're just like,
but I've certainly, exactly. I have seen a bunch of it though. And most recently, there was a lot of discussion around the art director for the film. Megan, I will hand the reins over to you for this since you have seen it and might be a little bit closer to this. But what do you make of the art director stuff?
So, there was an Instagram post that Sally Choi, who is the art director on Obsession, made. And she talked about how she was reticent to talk about this, but she thought it was important to. So Obsession was made for $750,000 and it has generated millions and millions and millions, and it has broken numerous records. It's last I saw, it was number 9 in the top 10 most lucrative horror films in the US.
Man, that's crazy. I mean, that makes sense though. It was in the top 5 again this last weekend.
Yeah, because there's so much conversation about it, and it is a film that I would argue you do need to see if you and judge for yourself. Although, speaking of people not getting things, one of the things that's really frustrated me is how people who watch the film still sadly don't seem to understand the film and who really is the villain in said film. And to me, it's very obvious, and to a lot of other people too. But then there's another subset of people where they just are not getting it clearly. Yeah. And the person who they think is the villain is actually the victim. It's a whole thing. But yes, so Sally Choi, the art director, spoke out about how it's projected to make $250 million on this really tiny budget, and how she made $300 a day as the art director, which came out to $6,741 after taxes. And what Choi also talked about was how on a very small film, you don't usually just do the one job you're assigned. And that's not what, she wasn't just the art director in the film. She also was the driver. She also pitched in various other roles. And so she juggled a lot of hats and got paid this tiny amount. And yet this movie is making money hand over fist, which is great. That's fantastic. That's great. But yet she and other workers who worked on this got paid such a tiny, tiny salary, and how, frustrating it is in this industry. And surprise, surprise, there were lots of people who applauded her for talking about this and for coming forward and talking about below the line workers and how this is a conversation that needs to be had. But there were, of course, many other people who were like, ooh, she should have kept her mouth shut, and then she could have just pivoted to another career with a big salary. And it's like, well, no, that's the problem. When people are silent, which is, arguably understandable, nothing changes. It's only going to change when people come forward and there's transparency about wages. That's it. That's how things change. So,
yeah, I will admit, I don't know what the context is as far as how that compares to other films with that budget normally. Is her salary average comparatively? Is that what it is to be expected for a budget of $750,000? I think is all that it was under $1 million, I believe.
Yep, it was $750,000. Yeah.
So that's part of it. I don't know what the answer to that is. I did read, correct me if I'm wrong, that it was also a non-union film as well. That probably offers its own sophistication and challenges as well. So if anything, it is certainly an argument for why unions are important.
Yes.
And why unions in Hollywood are very avid about striking when they need to, for the exact reasons you're talking about, Megan, and making sure that everyone is paid for the work that they're doing and fairly. And we've seen many strikes over the years when negotiations start to fall apart like that. Most recently, just a few years ago, wasn't it? With not the writer, was it the writers again?
Yep.
Yeah. So, yeah, I mean, the unions in Hollywood are important. And again, I don't know what the behind the scenes was as far as how that production came together. I don't know why it wasn't part of the union. I have zero context for any of that. But the other thing too is when when a movie is made for $750,000, what are the chances that it blows up to be $250 million? In fact, I looked it up. It was 287 as we talk.
Oh
currently.
God. Okay, so it's blown 250 out of the water.
Yes, it's at 287 with little signs of slowing down. In its fourth weekend, which was this last weekend, it only had an 11% drop from the third. That is unbelievable. And in its third week, it actually went up by 0.5.
Yeah, its second week it went up too.
Yeah, the second week went up 57%.
Yeah.
No drop, went up almost 60%. Unbelievable. Like truly historic.
Yeah.
This is a historic box office sensation. So that's got to be part of it as well. When they were making the film, again, I'm assuming, I have no idea. There's no way they thought the film was going to make almost $300 million world. That's crazy.
Yeah.
Absolutely crazy. So like, I don't know what the answer is there. Perhaps there could be some sort of back end contract that if the film goes above a certain threshold after it makes it some money back, that there are bonuses to be handed out, because it is kind of crazy that the movie was made for less than $1 million. Like it's made gobs of money. Whoever funded it, they took the risk on the right project, clearly.
Yes.
So I don't know. I understand her frustrations though, and wanting to speak out. I hope that it doesn't hinder her career. I have not seen the film, but given everyone's reaction and response to it, I imagine the art direction is pretty great.
The art direction is great. It's really great.
There you go.
Yeah.
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 So
No, it is
hopefully
great.
it
It's an
doesn't-
excellent film and it's really well made, but the art direction is great.
Yeah. And honestly, I would be disheartened. Again, I think there's a bit of irony here going back to the title of the episode, because we have seen male artists, whatever their craft may be, do things, speak on certain issues that might have been polarizing, and it's hardly been a bump in the road.
Yep.
So if this is a career ender, that's a little silly, I think. There shouldn't be an issue here, even if people find it polarizing, that should not hinder her from being hired.
I
It
agree.
shouldn't. But again, we live in a world where irony rules the day, obviously, sadly, unfortunately. But if the talent is there and it's undeniable, then she should get a job regardless. She should get a job. So, I mean, again, just to pivot to something else that I know really well, there were 2 players that were arrested in the NHL.
no.
There were 2 players arrested for a rape charge in Canada. They went to trial. It was a huge mess. Huge mess. These 2 guys just played in the Stanley Cup final. They got jobs again.
Of course they did.
Yeah, there's no way
course
any
they
team
did.
should have ever have signed them to contracts. But they did. They got hired because there's a talent that I guess they saw that was undeniable. So it's just no excuse to me. Like you might disagree with the way she went about it, but it shouldn't hinder her from getting a job. Not if we live in a world where her male counterparts would have been treated differently.
Exactly.
You know how it goes. I am excited to see the movie, though. I'm going to try to
It's excellent.
see it. I'm going to try to see it this week if I can.
Ooh.
I'm going to try
excited for
to.
you.
We'll see how it goes. But yeah, I've heard great things. I've heard really bad things. I don't know what
Really
to expect.
bad things.
Oh yeah, no. I have some mutuals that loathe Obsession. Yep.
Well, okay. I'm curious
not-
why.
I
I'm
don't-
curious.
I don't know. I've seen the reactions kind of swing back and forth. So
Interesting.
we'll see. All right, Megan, let's talk about coffee. I love
Ooh.
coffee. I am addicted to coffee. I noted that I just got back from vacation. When I went to Tennessee, the very first thing I packed was a 2-pound bag of coffee called. I was
love
not
that.
going to go on vacation empty-handed. There was no way. In fact, I even bought a brand new mobile grinder
Oh,
so I could grind my beans in the morning.
fancy. I
and
love that.
It was the best decision I made. I had so much coffee there in Tennessee. I can enjoy my mornings there, looking out into the horizon or swinging on the porch with Andrew, whatever the case is.
That sounds
it was
perfect.
great. It was absolutely perfect. Had my afternoon pick-me-ups for when I needed it. It was glorious. And the great thing about Coffee Cult, what's different is the quality. It is the quality. Because when you drink grocery store coffee, not every brand, but most brands, you're talking about coffee that's just, it's not fresh. It's sitting on shelves
Right.
for long periods of time. And depending on the company, the quality of the coffee isn't the same. With Coffee Cult, it is the top 2% specialty coffee in the world. It is roast to order. So when you order on the website, it goes into the system. It is roasted that week. It is shipped to you that week. So it is guaranteed fresh every single time. And it's great. So if you like dark roast, medium roast, if you want to try any of the single origin coffees, now is a good time to go and check out Coffee Cult. My favorite are the Ethiopian coffees. I mean, those are not easy to find in the U.S. Not every company has the Ethiopian coffees, but they're tremendous. They're very, very nuanced. Yep, sophisticated, heavy on the strawberry, blueberry notes, which are my faves. It's great. So go check it out. That's coffeecult.com, coffee with the K, cult with the K, coffeecult.com. Use the code ISF26. That code again is ISF26 at checkout, 15% off. Go check them out. And we thank Coffee Cult for their support. All right, Megan, let's talk about Audible. I'm a big audiobook guy. How do you like listening to audiobooks?
I need to get into audiobooks because I need to read more. And that I feel like is the way to do it, is to do audiobooks. It's
fantastic. I've really loved them a lot. I listened to Project Hail Mary earlier in the year. Tremendous audiobook. Very, very good. Last week on the show, we spent the first half of it talking about the Hunger Games, having a bit of a retrospective.
Yes.
And the reason we were able to do that is because I got through the Hunger Games trilogy. So a few months ago, started that, finished that. We were able to have that retrospective. That was a lot of fun. Those audiobooks were also tremendous. Very, very good. They were read by Tatiana Maslany. She was incredible.
I love her.
Really love that a lot. So I have moved on to the Songbirds and Snakes audiobook. It is read, by someone else. I can't remember the guy's name offhand. So far, I'm enjoying it. I'm only like 2 chapters in. But yeah, I am an Audible nerd. I love Audible. I listen to audiobooks all the time. And I highly recommend you check them out as well. And what's really cool, if you go to audibletrial.com/InSessionFilm, of course, we will have the link to it in the show notes here, audibletrial.com/InSessionFilm, you will get a 30-day free trial and also a free audiobook download. It is a great way to try out Audible. And they have a gazillion titles, all kinds of stuff. If you want like movie-related books, there's, of course, a ton of stuff there. But they have sports books, business books, joke books. They have everything. So go check out Audible. You will love it. I guarantee it. I've all my stuff is there. It's all I do. I listen to film scores or I'm listening to audiobooks. That's my whole life.
I love that.
So yes, go check out Audible. Again, that's audibletrial.com/InSessionFilm, 30-day free trial and a free audiobook. And we thank Audible for their support. Let's go ahead and transition to the top 5 here. Let's talk alien invasion movies. Disclosure Day came out over the weekend. And as we noted, everyone and their mother had an opinion on it. And we'll have a
Boy, did they.
Boy, did they. But let's talk about other alien movies here. Now, before we get into it, I do think there's a couple of ways to look at this. So I'm curious what your criteria was for this list.
Yes. So I wrestled with this because I realized when we talked about alien invasion movies, I wasn't thinking of it necessarily from a negative perspective, like aliens coming and conquering and taking over and people hiding. Like I thought of those movies, but I also thought of UFO movies. I also thought of alien contact movies where maybe they're friendly, maybe they're benevolent. And so I kind of included them all in that regard. But what I did have for parameters are it must be on Earth. That was my one parameter, is that it has to be on Earth, which means sadly I can't for the umpteenth time talk about aliens and Alien. So those are out.
Yeah. No Avatar for me, sadly. Yeah.
Right. Avatar would be out too. Yeah. So that was pretty much it. But I did kind of focus on the negative and the positive, so I guess for me, it's not just alien invasion. It's also, it's alien invasion, but also alien contact, alien saying, hey.
Yeah. It's interesting because you and I are in similar thinking here in terms of there's different types of invasions happening. Now, I will say, I look at my list and, okay, 4 of the 5 probably fall into the more negative side of it, but I certainly didn't limit myself to that. And there's one movie here in particular that is very much the opposite. And one of them that I really wanted to have on this list, but ultimately decided to leave out, and this is another big part of my criteria, and it also falls under the side of, this isn't like a negative aspect of alien invasion, but appropriately to much of the conversation here, it is Steven Spielberg's Close Encounters of the Third Kind. I did decide to leave that off my list here because it's a movie I've talked about so many times here on the show. It's in my top 10 of all time. So this is kind of my Close Encounters memorial list, is perhaps what I can call it. I really love that movie a lot. It's another movie about obsession. And
yes.
I love the prickly nuances of that character as well. I mean, there's something about father figures in Spielberg's movies that don't always have these affable values per se, but I say that very complimentary. I do love that about Close Encounters. Perhaps there's another film on this list that we could get into that has similar features. In fact, I do believe we talked about it a few weeks ago. But yeah, Close Encounters is another one of those where Roy is, he abandons his family. Let's just put it out there.
He sure does.
I kind of love that because he does it at the cost of embracing this unknown, this incredible mystery, this universal mystery, and wanting to pursue that and pursue that curiosity. But there are these severe ramifications. So it's such a fascinating duality, especially coupled with Spielberg's filmmaking and John Williams' score and everything about that film that I love. So at any rate, here I am talking about it further, which I was trying to avoid, but I do love it. And so ultimately that's why I left it off.
But it's such an excellent movie.
Yes. So it is my number 1 to this list, but I wanted to leave it off so I could talk about some other movies.
Well, funny enough, it's all, spoiler alert, it's my number 1.
Well, there you go. If you just want to talk about it now, we might as well.
I was like, you know what? I have a ton of runners up though, so I can bump in and put in another number 1.
It's up to you.
So we can talk about others. But no, I do have it as my number 1 because I think it's the greatest alien invasion movie. It's amazing. Yeah, it's the best.
Yeah, it is great. I mean, if you want to save that, we can talk about it more later. That's perfectly fine. I mean, I will talk about Close Encounters any day of the week. If I would have known that, I would have saved this.
No, I know, but and that's the thing. We don't discuss our lists in advance.
No.
And I put it on my list full well knowing that you were probably going to have it on yours.
That's so funny.
Yeah. And I was like,
so funny.
I was like, JD's probably going to have it, but I need to have it because it is, I think, the best. Yeah. For all the reasons that you're saying. And yes, Roy is an absolute jagweed for ditching his family. and I don't want to detract that by saying but I do think it really is an incredible and empathetic depiction of obsession and how obsessed he gets after his alien encounter and how he needs to find them. And he just gets so fixated. Like, one of my favorite scenes is the mashed potato scene. I mean, because it's unhinged and he cannot focus on anything else, which I do think is really interesting because Jillian has an encounter as well, but she's focused on finding Barry, her son. And so there's very much a reverence for motherhood in this film. Mm-hmm. But I think so much of it is fascinating in that it captures the wonder and the mystery of the unknown and of faith and following something, and you don't know why you're following it, but you're doing it. And I personally don't look at it through a religious lens, even though I know Steven Spielberg is very religious and there's so much religiosity in his films. Yeah. But for me, I don't look at it through that lens because I am not religious, but I look at it through the lens of believing in anything that's, larger than yourself and that you do not understand or fully. And so I think it's a really incredible film, and the craftsmanship is just,
it's insane.
It's
one of the best looking
impeccable.
movies ever. Yeah.
The cinematography, the score, I know you talked about the score and of course Spielberg's directing, but the cinematography is so jaw-dropping. It's just, it's incredible. It's incredible. The scope, the beauty,
I agree.
It's phenomenal. Just an excellent film.
I completely agree. And it's interesting because I did grow up religious. Again, I'm so fascinated to talk about this in relation with Disclosure Day. But the parallels that that Spielberg draws from with Close Encounters as it relates to Roy and Elijah from the Bible is something that came to mind every time I watched that movie. I think there's some phenomenal parallels there. But to your point, I don't think you have to look at it through a religious prism. Mm-hmm. So much of the ambition of Roy and the choices he makes as it relates to abandon his family, it's at the cost of pursuing the mysteries of the cosmos. Mm-hmm. And he's wanting to do something that very few people would ever get to experience. Right. When he approaches the aliens at the end, it's him and a few others. That's it. That are there. Mm-hmm. The military personnel. Right. And they're getting to experience that no other human has and maybe arguably would ever get to experience, perhaps. And there's something about the allure of that I do think is quite magical, and it makes him such a fascinating character. And of course, you can symbolically use that as a metaphor for, let's say, a filmmaker who gets so bogged down in his work that maybe he forgets his family from time to time. Like, obviously, it's personal to him on many different levels. Mm-hmm. And that passion is very much there, especially when you look at the cinematography and the score and everything else that goes into the craft of that film. It's just, it's striking. No, I'm totally there with you. There's so many different edges and angles to it that, I love. Like I said, it's in my top 10 of all time. Mm-hmm. I can never get enough of it. And my heart does break for Ronnie and Roy. Oh, you understand why each of them choose what they do ultimately.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. I mean, that scene, the scene with the kids all yelling and slamming the door and her screaming, "You're wrecking us." Like, that
devastating.
Scene. Yeah, it's so sad. I mean, I was kind of a weird child watching that film and laughing at that scene because of its melodrama, but it actually is incredibly tragic. It very, very sad. But you're absolutely right. Like, what person would stay with that kind of nonsense? Mm-hmm. So it's completely understandable why she's, takes the kids and leaves. And it's also, from the lens of the film, it makes sense why he cannot let this go. He is just so fixated on what's happening to him.
It's almost like he had a tragic event in his childhood between his parents. Who would have thought?
Who would have
would've
thought that?
Yes. Music being a big part of it. Yeah, I mean, maybe 40 years later, he'll make a movie about it. Who knows?
Because he certainly hasn't made one yet about it. No.
No, not at all. But yeah, Close Encounters, it freaking rolls.
Yes.
So yeah, I love it. I'm glad that's your number one. Like I said, that is a true number one for me here. I just thought that if I left it off, I could talk about another movie that I love.
I don't blame you.
All right. Well, let's jump into the actual list here because we haven't even got to that yet. What do you have at number 5?
Okay, well, my number 5 is very, very different from Close Encounters. Completely different. We're going with some paranoia. We're going with some, are you an alien or are you a human or are you a dog? Has to be The Thing. John Carpenter's The Thing, 1982.
Okay, so this is very funny. I just want to jump in here real fast because that's also my number 5.
We're like in sync. I love it. I love it.
Yeah, that is very funny.
Yeah. I mean, it's a classic. It's another masterpiece. It's excellent. And I don't think there is, I don't want to say there isn't another film, but it is rare to find another film that matches that film in its paranoia and claustrophobia and in not being able to trust anyone. And yeah. Also, one of the best dog actors, if not the best dog actors of all time.
One of the best dog actors. Yep.
Mm-hmm.
Totally
That dog is
agree.
great.
No.
Yeah. And John Carpenter. Love John Carpenter. What a phenomenal filmmaker.
I know. I want to revisit this film because I keep hearing Stephen Colbert talk about his interview.
Yeah, about how it's
Have you
his
seen
comfort film.
Yeah.
Yes.
And that Carpenter told him that there is an answer to the end of the film if
What?
you're willing to look for it. Yeah. He said it's there. That's
Okay. I feel like I have to
obviously
rewatch it
secondhand.
too.
That's we're having to trust Colbert on this. That Carpenter told him that it's there. So I'm curious. I haven't seen the film in a few years. I do want to go back to it, and I wanted to see if I can find it because I've never seen the answer, but I also wasn't actively looking for it either. But I'm curious. I am real curious. But yeah, I'm with you. I mean, in terms of paranoia and alien invasions, there's just nothing better. And yeah, I love how the film navigates that for sure.
Yeah.
Incredible. Yeah,
So
my
good.
number 5
Great
as well.
cast. Great use of space. Love it.
All right.
So good.
Now, what do you have at number 4? If we
Oh,
cross
right.
over here, I swear to God.
So weirdly enough, my number 4, I had a harder time with number 4 than number 5 because I also have apparently a vast love of alien films more than I realized. But I'm going, and there are a lot of different ways to go in this direction, but I went positive again.
Okay.
And this one, I struggled with this one because I was like, does this count? There's only one. And then I was like, well, but there's reasons I went with it. And so I'm going with John Carpenter yet again.
Again, another Carpenter.
Another
Okay.
John Carpenter, but in a completely different way, which makes for a really interesting double feature with The Thing. I'm going with Starman with Jeff Bridges and
nice.
Karen Allen. This is one of my favorite films of all time. I love this film so much. I love that this is a road trip movie. I love that John Carpenter has called this is essentially It Happened One Night. But yet it is Jeff Bridges, who is Karen Allen's deceased husband, and an alien has inhabited his body, really reconstructed it through his DNA, because he is a stranded alien and he is waiting for the mothership to come in 3 days to meet him, and he is off course, so they need to trek across the U.S. And it turns into a really beautiful, beautiful story. And I think this film would not work if it didn't have John Carpenter's touch, if it didn't have excellent cinematography and location, actual filming locations that they filmed on the road. But the big reason it works is because it hinges on the performances of Jeff Bridges and Karen Allen, especially Karen Allen, who provides so much grounded realism and gravitas to this. And I think this has a lot of humanity and a lot of warmth and empathy. And I love this film.
Yeah. I mean, this is one of the few Carpenter films I have not seen. This is a blind spot for me. Yeah, unfortunately. Can't speak to it here, but I do need to remedy this. This
yes.
is one I have to add to the list soon.
Mm-hmm.
All right, do love that. We will not cross over here on number 4.
Interesting.
I am curious what you think of my number 4, though. I don't think we've discussed this one. My number 4, I'm going to, I believe the year is 2022. So this is a recent alien invasion movie.
I think I know what it is.
This is my boy, Jordan Peele. This is going with Nope.
Nice.
My number 4 here. Man, this is a movie that I really liked when it came out. And since then, it's just never left my mind. And now it's one of my favorite films of that. I mean, I think it was in my top 10 that year anyway, but now it's climbed even higher on my list for 2022. I love that this is a really horrific alien invasion movie, like just in terms of superficial aesthetics and horror sequences. There are a few images here that you can't get out of your brain. Like that shot of the people going through what is essentially the esophagus of this
They're being
alien
eaten.
creature. They're being unreal.
It's terrifying.
Absolutely terrifying. Yes. I mean, that is one of the most shocking, and I say that very complimentary here, scenes that I have maybe ever seen. And then, of course, it also doubles as this incredible movie about the Hollywood system and the tragic irony that despite its rampant nepotism, there's clearly a void when it comes to certain groups within that system. And the way Peele navigates those layers, it's nothing short of masterful, as it always tends to be with Jordan Peele. An incredible critique funneled through sci-fi survival. And yeah, it's incredible. Absolutely love it. Beautiful cinematography.
Oh, gorgeous.
Really thematically nuanced and yeah, I love it. Yep. Nope. My number 4 here.
Yeah, this was definitely a runner up for me. It was definitely contender because I love this movie too. This is a movie that I loved when I saw it, and the more I thought about it and I couldn't get it out of my head, the more I loved it. And for all the reasons you're saying, I also think that Daniel Kaluuya and Keke Palmer and Stephen Yeun are excellent in it, but the visuals are so haunting and
incredible.
Yeah, everything is just exceptional in this film. Yeah, this is a great choice.
And it's also unique in the sense that the UFO invader here, the alien invader, if you will, it is UFO shaped, but it's also this living predator.
Yes.
So that also makes it kind of unique as well. I mean, as we talked about with the whole eating sequence, but yeah, I mean, just it functions in a new inventive way that we had never really seen before as well. So yeah, blending the horror and the space UFO sci-fi of it all. It's just, yeah, I mean, it's modern reinvention at its best. Peele freaking rules. All right.
Yes, he does.
Number 3. What do you got at number 3?
Number 3, I'm also going for something very hopeful because I often feel that alien films are very interesting in that they, of course, reveal far more about humanity and ourselves and our reaction to the unknown rather than aliens themselves. But for this, I went with 2016, Denis Villeneuve. I went with Arrival. And I think, again, this is not an invasion film in the conventional sense, but it is fascinating to me, the idea of how you would communicate with another species, an alien species, and how the passage of time is so relative to humans and how another species would look at it completely differently and would exist completely differently. And I think this is an incredibly emotional film and really beautiful. So, yeah.
Okay. So this is my number one. Arrival is my number one. We've arrived. Pun intended.
We have arrived.
We have arrived. Yes. I mean, I don't know how much I need to go into this. I've talked about this quite a bit before. I don't know if you got a chance to read it or not, Megan. It's been a few years, so I certainly wouldn't blame you if you haven't. But I wrote an essay on this some years ago just because it's one of those movies that just profoundly moved me. I remember exactly where I was, the row I was in, the seat that I was in.
Ooh.
One of those unforgettable experience at the theater watching this. Walking out, I think I sat in my car for like 30 minutes, just weeping and thinking about the film, writing some notes down. And of course, it was my favorite movie of that year. And it was one of my favorite films of the 2010s, that entire decade. And yeah, it is this incredible alien movie. It is an invasion of sorts, but certainly not this external threat. Right. I love that the invasion here is more about knowledge and interpretation.
Yes, yes.
Because the film fundamentally, it is this powerful allegory for how we try to decode and interpret the tragedies that we experience. Louise, throughout the film, she's trying to figure out these alien languages. She's trying to decipher it and interpret what it all means. And I just think it's the perfect metaphor for how we try to interpret and cope with tragedy. Because many times these events arrive unexpectedly. We often cannot comprehend it. But we do try to answer the question of why these things happen, as Louise was trying to answer, why are these aliens on Earth? And she was able to decode a lot of it, as sometimes we find answers in the middle of our grief and pain. And the way Villeneuve examines that in the film, coupled with one of the best performances I've maybe ever seen, what Amy Adams does in that film, it truly is tremendous because she's having to give a dual performance. But you don't know that. You don't know that she's giving this dual performance until the end of the film. And it's one of the craziest reveals I've ever seen. Just performatively. Yeah, it's stunning. Absolutely stunning. I know it's kind of become the popular pick of why didn't she win an Oscar for that? But it's deserved why people keep going to this film and that performance whenever those questions are evoked. Truly sensational. I love it. I actually don't think I've ever had it on a top 5. As much as I feel like I've talked about Arrival over the years, maybe I had it on one some years ago. I can't really recall. But this might be the first. So as much as I love it, I've certainly written about it quite a bit at InSessionFilm.com. And I'll link that in the show notes for this episode if people want to go and check it out. It was one of the more personal essays that I've written. But I love Arrival. It's my number 1 here.
Yay. I love that we crossed over again.
Yeah. Crossed over, I guess technically 3 times, but 2 officially. Yes. All right. So where are we now? That was your number 3?
Mm-hmm. Yes.
All right. So we're to my number 3.
Yes.
Okay. Another one. I don't know how you feel about this movie, Megan.
Okay.
I don't know how you feel about the filmmaker. However, I'm a big fan. I'm a big fan of this movie.
Mm-hmm.
I'm going with M. Night Shyamalan's Signs for my number 3.
Oh.
I don't know if this is a hot take or not. A lot of people do really like the film. I don't know if they like it as much as... I think this film is borderline a masterpiece. I think it's incredible. I think it's very, very good. And maybe it simply comes down to some of that M. Night, especially early M. Night filmmaking thing that he did, I just like the way he tells stories. Again, sometimes very flawed, but generally I like his approach.
Mm-hmm.
And in this film, especially the way it examines faith, I just find so brilliant, and how it weaves this duality of God and what we perceive to be otherworldly. I think there's a bit of Signs and Disclosure Day. I think I've mentioned that a couple of times already. We'll certainly talk about it. And like I've kind of alluded to a couple of times already, there's this gripping irony to that when you bring up the idea of aliens in 2002, anyway, with all the UFO stuff that we've seen in the news the last few years. It might be different now, but at that time, and we do see it heavily at the beginning of the film, aliens are considered to be hokey or nerdy, as Meryl puts it at one point. It's just a bunch of nerdy guys with no girlfriends trying to hoax the world. But I think the film is suggesting this question of, like, how is that any different from believing in an invisible God we can't see? Is he not otherworldly as well? Why is God socially acceptable, but aliens from other planets are just crazy theories? I love that in Signs. I think it's really great. And the way Graham loses his faith and then comes to terms with that near the end of the film, especially when you couple it with this incredible scene that he has with his son in the basement, the asthma attack scene, is one of that's probably my favorite sequence in any M. Night film. I was deeply moved by it. And I love what this film is examining. Like, I think it's M. Night's most thematically complex movie, arguably emotionally complex as well. Although, yeah, that's up for debate for sure. But Signs is very much in that conversation for me. And I love it. I deeply, deeply love Signs. Yeah, I mean, I could rummage through this film all day. I think it's great. But my number 3 here.
Nice. I haven't seen this since it came out in theaters.
Oh boy. Okay.
Yeah, so it's been a very long time. Yeah. I mean, I liked a lot of the Hitchcockian elements in the storytelling, and there's definitely a lot thematically. I agree with you on that. I have not revisited this, sadly, because of the Mel Gibson of it all.
That is very fair.
Yeah. And so I'm like, yeah, I'm going to pass. But I don't want to negate that. Pivoting, this is a really interesting film, and I can definitely see why this is on your list for sure.
Yeah. I will say, because we reviewed Signs some years ago, not too long ago, within the last 5 years, I would say. Brendan and I reviewed this here on the show. And I got to say, the trajectory of Mel Gibson is one of the most disheartening things I've seen, because as an on-screen presence, man, he is incredible. He's really good when it comes to his job as an actor. Really, really great. And he is phenomenal in the movie. It's sad that he turned out to be this giant asshole. Like,
yeah,
it
right.
just sucks. Because, man, he's great. He's really, really good. But I understand why people would avoid anything that he's in. But Signs, I do think, is tremendous. It's phenomenal. I think it holds up tremendously well. And again, I think as far as M. Night goes, it's one of his more emotionally sophisticated, for sure. Thematically very resonant. And again, if you like movies about faith, and I know that this film would certainly qualify for that. And like Disclosure Day, this is really less a movie about alien invasions. I mean, that's obviously the superficial plot of it all, but that's just the cipher for this film to really be about faith. And I think it's one of the more provocative movies about faith that I've seen for sure. And a lot of it does come down to Mel Gibson's performance, unfortunately. And he's really good.
Yeah, sadly.
Unfortunately, very,
Yeah.
very good.
Yeah, no,
So,
you're not wrong.
You know,
Terrible people can make great art too, but
Yeah. and some of the worst people we know are the greatest artists, and it sucks. Like, God bless it. Anyway, I love science. It's my number 3 here. Number 2. What do you got at number 2?
Number 2. What do I have? I have to look at my list. Oh, yes. Number 2. This is such a fantastic horror movie. I love it. Going back to the 70s. Actually, I don't think we've talked about a movie from the 70s. So we're diving into the 70s, going with a remake, which remakes usually don't fare well. But this one, I think, is superior to the original. The original is a great film, too. Going with Invasion of the Body Snatchers. Yes. Is this your number 2 as well?
I have the 50s Invasion of the Body Snatchers because I think it's the superior version. Yeah. This is very funny how this is all played out.
That's
I
amazing.
can't believe this. It's not even just that we had similar films here, but we both had it at number 2.
Yeah. Yeah.
I mean, good Lord. What are the chances of... I cannot emphasize enough. Megan and I did not discuss this before.
No, we do not discuss until this moment right now.
Yeah. That's incredible. All right, so 78.
Yeah.
Tell me about the 78 film. What do you like about it?
So I love it. And like, don't get me wrong, I think the original from the 50s is great too. That was the one I saw first. I think it's a great film. But for me, the 70s film, it really comes down to Donald Sutherland's performance.
And
I
he's
think
phenomenal. Yeah.
he is exceptional. This is my favorite Donald Sutherland performance. And I mean, Leonard Nimoy is great in it too. I cannot think of her name. It has totally escaped my head. It's fine. The woman who's also an alien. I don't know why I can't think of her name, but she's also excellent. And this film is, to me, terrifying because anything involving sleep, something that you cannot avoid, you need to do, and it comes over you without your control, that is a really scary thing. Like, also why A Nightmare on Elm Street, I think, is so effective in so many ways. And in addition to Wes Craven being a great filmmaker, but I digress. But here, I think this is an incredibly tense film. I think it's really well shot. I think it's well acted. I think it is, again, a film where the characters are constantly looking over their shoulder because they don't know who to trust. They don't know who is actually a human and who has been invaded by the pod people who are aliens. And I think that is really unnerving. And I think that the final shot of the film is exquisite. It's so good. I love it.
No, it is very good. I'm with you in the sense that I similarly love both of them. The 1978 film is great. I think the reason that I prefer the 56 film is that it is able to convey pure dread without any sort of genre, trope, or tactic whatsoever. And I think the 78 version also does this pretty well, but the 56 film, I don't know, there's something about its subtlety in terms of how everything's said in broad daylight. It's legitimately terrifying. It relies on your imagination to do a lot of the work. There's no jump scares. There's no loud noises. Nothing coming around the corner. It really is just tension and dread soaked through this paranoia of what is ultimately the Cold War. That is the allegory that it's aiming to convey. But the concept of it and how it ultimately evokes this inability to trust anyone, a little bit like what we were talking about earlier with The Thing. I just think that comes through so sensationally for 1956, and how it's expanding the scope of the cinematic form for its time, but also staying within the confines of what is familiar to a lot of people. So it's able to have its cake and eat it too. And I think that's why it's so effective, I'm sure, especially at the time for people, because so much of the film cinematically feels familiar, but it's conveying something and doing it subtly. It's playing just outside the sandbox, but you don't really feel that until you get halfway through the film, or even near the end of it, where all of a sudden it starts to crystallize, and that paranoia then just overwhelms, and it just kind of sneaks up on you in this incredible way. I love the way it builds dread and suspension throughout. It's fantastic. So, I mean, both of them are very good. I just slightly prefer the 56 version.
That is fair. Yeah.
Yeah.
I love the sound design of the 78 version. But no, they're both great. They're both excellent. They're both they're both great films.
Absolutely. I mean, I think it's just a flavor thing.
Yep.
Totally. Depends on what you're in the mood for sure. And sometimes I'm in the mood for chocolate. Sometimes I want vanilla, or whatever your metaphor is there. whatever your flavors are.
Right.
I'm pretty
Sometimes you want
simple. I try not to expand beyond chocolate and vanilla. That's kind of where I'm at. Sometimes I'll go for strawberry.
Oh.
I like strawberry, but usually I'm in that chocolate vanilla thing. So I'm my food palette doesn't get too exotic, but I can definitely go for some exotic. Okay. I'm just not skilled enough to cook exotic food. That's my problem. And I don't live with a family that's ever going to go out and find it either. So I'm kind of stuck. I'm living with a bunch of body snatchers for sure.
No body snatchers.
Bunch of emotionless duplicates that only eat vanilla ice cream.
Yeah.
No, I mean, obviously I'm joking.
No, but I'm glad you said that, because that reminded me of something I wanted to say. Is that's what I think is another thing that is so poignant and so compelling about both versions, is that you are, and I think it's especially resonant in the 70s, but resonant really in both, is that it's not like you're being replaced by someone who is, smarter or faster. No, you're being replaced by someone emotionless who's boring. And
exactly.
It's everybody becoming the same and robotic, and there's no individuality. And that's also scary too. So
yeah, very much so. Remind me a little bit of, I finally caught up with Dark City over the weekend. Have you seen that movie?
I have not. It has been on my list a long time. I need to see it.
Okay. I will not say more, but I will just say that notion, very prevalent in that movie, which is why it came immediately to mind when you said it.
Understandable.
Yeah. I'll be curious to hear your film. I think you'll love that movie a lot as well.
Okay. I'll bump that up on the list.
Invasion of the Body Snatchers, our number 2. We've already talked about our number 1s already, so honorable mentions.
You may have.
Yeah. What do you got for any honorable mentions on your list?
Yes, I had a lot. I had 10 Cloverfield Lane, and part of the reason I didn't go with that is because the fear of invasion is kind of there, possibly, and you don't know for sure until the end. But I think that is an exceptional film, and I don't feel like I get to talk about it enough. I love the performances in that, and I love that film. Annihilation, which is, again, kind of about invading bodies and mutating animals and plants. I love that book series so much. It's some of my favorite books, and I think Alex Garland's adaptation is very different than the book, but still excellent. I also had Nope on my list. I had the original The War of the Worlds, which I think is exceptional. A Quiet Place Day One, which I love Lupita Nyong'o. I love
Same.
the cat. I love that she's just trying to get across the city to get a hot dog and to get with her cat. Like, I love that I
I
love
think
that
that's
film.
my favorite film in that series.
Mine too. Yeah, I think it's great. I think it's
Yeah.
an excellent, excellent film. I like Michael
I
Sarnowski
agree.
as a filmmaker a lot. I think he's
Totally
great.
agree. Yep.
Yeah, so I
We'll
love
talk
that
about
film.
him next week too.
Yes, I know. I cannot wait.
Mhm. Very exciting.
I also love Edge of Tomorrow. Attack the Block, I think, is great. Really charming and funny. No One Will Save You, I think, is good. And also
Yep.
reminds me a lot of Signs. And then also on the more those are all kind of negative alien encounters. And then on the positive side, I also I love Lilo and Stitch. I debated putting that on my
Yeah.
list because I think that's so beautiful and lovely, and the whole message of home. Also, E.T. It's a great
love
film,
E.T..
and it's so emotional and so lovely. And also The Abyss. I think that's a great, great film.
Yeah. I have pretty much all of those on my list as well.
Ooh.
I'm trying to read through them here. The ones that you didn't. Did you say Edge of Tomorrow? I have that on my list here.
No. Oh, no, but I did forget one, The Vast of Night, which I
Okay, yeah.
love.
Good movie there as well. The Day the Earth Stood Still is
That's a good one.
classic one that I have here on my list. A couple of big blockbusters. God damn you, Steven Spielberg. I can't believe these movies exist. It's your fault. But I'm going with Will Smith. I almost went with Men in Black, actually. I
I can
contemplated
see it.
I contemplated removing The Thing because I was like, I think I've had this film on a couple of top 5 lists before.
That's
Ultimately, I decided to go with Carpenter because it's John Carpenter. And also,
I mean, how
I'm
can you
glad I
not?
made the decision in hindsight because we crossed over so many different times here. And it was kind of funny. But Men in Black is maybe my favorite comfort movie. It's one of those
Ooh.
movies I will always put on whenever I just need a pick-me-up.
Mm-hmm.
I really love it a lot. It's fun. It's got some crackling dialogue at times that's a bit underrated, perhaps. It's maybe Will Smith at his best, especially when we're talking about 90s stardom and when he was, the movie star. And it's a ton of fun. Really, really great blockbuster. And then, of course, there's Independence Day as well, which is all kinds of dumb and stupid, but really fun. So I have that on here as well. District 9. I can't remember if you said District 9.
I did not say District 9, but I did think about District 9, yeah.
Yep. I, of course, have to have Transformers on this list because I am the bayhead of the two of us.
You sure are.
So Transformers very much makes the list. And similarly, Guillermo del Toro's Pacific Rim, I think, is a fascinating alien invasion movie.
Ooh.
And I love the hell out of that movie, too. So really like that one. What else? The World's End. Big fan of the Cornello trilogy. The World's End. I really, really love. Predator. I think that first Predator is really great. Prey from a few years ago qualifies very well too.
I forgot to say Prey. Prey was on my runner-up
Prey.
list. Yep. Love Prey.
Love both of those. The Abyss. Got to have some Cameron on there, of course. And that one takes place on Earth since I can't go with Avatar. And I think everything else that I have listed here you already mentioned, if I'm not mistaken. So I'll go ahead and end it there. But yeah, some really good alien invasion movies, turns out. And I like of all these, it's funny that we crossed over like 3 times.
I know. And you know what was really, except for Close Encounters, I was like, I thought we probably would with Arrival too, but I was like, we're not going to necessarily cross over. And wow, we crossed over a lot more than I thought.
Yeah. I mean, if you include Close Encounters,
Right?
that's 4. That we were like, oh yeah.
Yeah. We were just in lockstep.
Lockstep on this exercise. Yeah, that's great.
Apparently.
All right, good stuff. Well, let us know if you agree or disagree with anything Megan and I had to say here. We would love to know your list as well. Reviews this week. I think we're just going to have the one disclosure day because I'm just coming back from vacation. I didn't really have a chance to see anything else. It was fun, though. In the middle of Tennessee, I did find a movie theater there. It
Ooh.
wasn't one of the big chains either. It wasn't a Regal. It wasn't AMC. It was, I don't know, maybe a Tennessee chain. I don't know. But it was
Ooh, love
an
that.
old school looking theater. It was really fun. I did make time for Spielberg. So we will talk about that. And then I think instead of a second review this week, we're going to have some bonus content, some VIP content coming your way. So if you want to sign up on Patreon, patreon.com/InSessionFilm, we're going to be doing a Steven Spielberg ranking since we are now post-disclosure day. We're going to update Steven Spielberg. We're going to talk about that further. And who knows what may happen between now and recording time. Maybe there'll be more discourse nonsense to talk about. So we're going to talk about Spielberg. Make sure you sign up on Patreon. And I also just want to thank Megan and Shadon for filling in for me last week and Josh as well for Masters of the Universe and Power Ballad. Thought you guys had some great conversations on those movies. I will just simply say, because I have seen Masters of the Universe, I thought it was a very weird experience. I think the humor, I understand the approach. It's trying to mimic the show. The humor is still all over the place. I don't think it works very much. I don't think it works very well at all. But Jared Leto, again, unfortunately, very
Right?
good.
Right? Like
The worst person you know.
Talk
is
about
sometimes
terrible
good.
people. Yeah.
Yeah.
God.
I haven't seen Power Ballad yet, but I am a huge John Carney fan. Huge Carney head. So I am excited to catch up with that one. Once and Sing Street are just two of my favorites.
Once is so good. Love Once.
Yeah, phenomenal. All right. So yeah, my thanks to Josh and Shadon for filling in and Megan leading the charge there. Really do appreciate you guys.
Oh, thank you.
As always, be sure to subscribe to the show, whether you're watching on YouTube, listening on Apple Podcasts or Spotify. Please rate and review the show. It really does help us out. All that fun stuff. Megan, am I forgetting anything before we get out of here?
I don't think so. Maybe a new
that's it.
Chasing the Gold?
New Chasing the Gold later this week. Yeah. Shadon, I think she did me a favor and skipped on recording one last week because I was gone. And it would have admittedly been hard to edit, so I am grateful to her for that. But we're going to get back on track. New Chasing the Gold this week. I'm glad you mentioned that. So, yeah, stay tuned for that later on in the week as well. And, of course, Dave and all the great writers doing good stuff over there on the website, InSessionFilm.com. All right, with that said, thanks for listening, everybody. Thanks for watching. If someone's being mean to you on the internet, just leave them alone, I guess. That's what Spielberg's trying to say. I don't know. We'll talk about Disclosure Day. All right. So we'll see you guys next time on the In Session Film Podcast.